So when you're trying to solve this question, you know that the expression for area, the formula for area, is area equals length times width. And you know that your area is 25a squared minus b squared. So if you could write this as something times something else, in other words, if you could factor it, then the two factored expressions would be your length and your width. So what this question is really asking you for, when they ask for length and width, they're really saying factor this expression. And I think I could write this as a difference of squares, because I know that 25 is 5 squared. So 5 squared times a squared, I could write that as bracket 5a squared. So I have 5a squared minus b squared. Perfect. This is in the difference of squares format, so now I can factor it. So this will equal 5a minus b times 5a plus b. And if you're assuming that your a and b are positive numbers, the length is going to be the longer term, or the bigger term, so 5a plus b, and the width will be the shorter one, so 5a minus b. So your expressions for length and width can be length equals 5a plus b, and width equals 5a minus b. There's your answer for that part. Now for part B, perimeter is 140 feet, and the length is 1.8 times the width. So they've given you two separate pieces of information here, which you'll need to use. Let's look just at perimeter. So if you're calculating a perimeter, what do you need to do? You need to add up the lengths of every side. So you have two lengths to add and two widths. So perimeter equals 2 times the length, so 2 times 5a plus b, plus 2 times the width, so plus 2 times 5a minus b. And you've been told that this equals 140 feet. Then they're saying that the length is 1.8 times the width of the floor. So that means if you took the width of the floor and multiplied it by 1.8, you get the length. So let's do that. I know that 1.8 times my width, which is 5a minus b, equals your length of 5a plus b. Okay, this gives you two equations and you've got two unknowns, a and b. So if you have two equations and two unknowns, you can solve the problem. By simplifying both of these and solving for a and b, once I have a and b, I'll be able to find out my length and width. So my goal for now is to figure out what a and b are. And I'll start figuring that out by simplifying each of these equations. So if I simplify this one, just expand out the brackets first. So 2 times 5a is 10a. 2 times positive b is positive 2b. And then 2 times 5a is 10a. And 2 times negative b is negative 2b, equals 140. Combining like terms, 10a plus 10a gets me 20a. And the positive 2b minus 2b cancels out, that's gone. So 20a equals 140. You can solve for a by dividing both sides by 20. And you'd get a equals 7. Okay, now I know what a is. I can simplify this equation, plug a in, and solve for b. So 1.8 times 5a is 9a. 1.8 times negative b is negative 1.8b, equals 5a plus b. So I'm going to move these around so that I get a's on one side and b's on the other. So I'll subtract 5a from both sides. 9a minus 5a is 4a. And I'll add 1.8b to both sides. So b plus 1.8b equals 2.8b. And I know from solving the previous question that a equals 7. So 4 times A is really 4 times 7 equals 2.8b. 4 times 7 is 28. And to solve for b, I'll have to divide both sides by 2.8. So b equals 28 divided by 2.8, which equals 10. So you're not quite done yet. You found out what a and b are, but you've been asked to find length and width. So the last thing you have to do is plug a and b into those equations for length and width. So you know that length equals 5a plus b, which equals 5 times 7 plus 10. 35 plus 10 is 45, so your length is 45 feet. Don't forget your units. Width is 5a minus b, so 5 times 7 minus 10. 35 minus 10 is 25, so 25 feet. So your length is 45 feet, your width is 25 feet. If you want to check that these answers fit, you can figure out the perimeter of that rectangle, figure out the ratio of length and width, and this should be as specified in the question. So the perimeter, 2 times 45 plus 2 times 25 is 90 plus 50, which does equal 140. Good, we've got the right perimeter. Length should be 1.8 times the width. So if I take the width and multiply by 1.8, then you should get 45, which you do. Okay, so length is 1.8 times the width, the perimeter is correct, so these should be the right answers. 45 feet for your length, 25 feet for your width.